Should I use power tools for any mechanical or maintenance work on my motorcycle? Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. So quick video here, and I promise it will be a quick one. The question has been asked, or somebody asked me in an email the other day. They said, actually, what's better, just using hand tools, or can you use power tools as well? For those who, let's say, are less experienced than others, you might be fooled into thinking that you've got to get the power tools. You watch YouTube videos, let's say like mine, and you see me using power tools, you think, oh yeah, I need those. The reality is you don't need any power tools whatsoever to work on a motorcycle. In some cases it makes it a little bit easier, but most tasks, especially maintenance tasks, you can do those with hand tools. And in fact, you should just use hand tools. So the second question to this was, what kind of hand tools do you need? So you'll need a socket set, preferably of 3 different sizes, and of metric and of imperial as well. And especially if you're working on Harley Davidson motorcycles, you're definitely going to need both measurements. Now, a socket set, you could probably get a 1/4 inch drive, a 3/8 drive, and a 1/2 inch drive set. You might even be able to get large combination sets that pretty much cover everything that you'll need. So if you're just starting out, just gathering tools, then I will probably say try and get the biggest set that you can that covers all 3 sizes, and it covers metric and imperial as well. Okay, you're going to need a set of spanners as well. Again, both imperial and metric as well. Try and get a set that covers from, let's say, the small sizes, 8mm, all the way up to 22mm, and the imperial equivalent. If you can do that, you've pretty much covered all your bases there, especially on a motorcycle. Now, there's always going to be some odd larger sizes or sizes in between that you won't find in a set, so then you can just go and buy those individually. Another tool that you're definitely going to need to have is a torque wrench. Now, you can get 3 different sizes, pretty much. You can get a 1/4 inch drive, which will take you up to about 25 newtons or whatever that is in foot-pounds. You can get a 3/8 drive, which usually takes you about to 110 newton meters. And then you can get a 1/2 inch drive, which can take you well over 200, 220, 230, something like that. Personally, I've got a 1/4 inch drive and a 1/2 inch drive, which covers the whole range. I'm just about to get a 3/8 drive, which will cover the mid-range. Okay, so you're going to need a set of screwdrivers, flathead, Phillips, posi or crosshead. You can buy these as you go along. You don't necessarily need to invest straight away, but certainly a screwdriver set. Next, you're definitely going to need a set of Allen keys, both imperial and metric, and also you're going to need a set of torqued bits. Now, some common ones on a Harley Davidson, for example, are T25, T27, T30, but just get a set that's got lots of different sizes in there. Okay, so the reality is that you could just be buying tools all the time to work on motorcycles. So if you're just starting out, just get the basics to start off with. Try and borrow the tools from somebody else if you can. Don't just throw loads of money at it straight away, because most of the time, especially if you're just doing maintenance work, a simple set of sockets and spanners will usually do the trick. But you will need a torque wrench. That's something you'll definitely need. Now, those are just a few ideas for hand tools. I'll leave links in the description below for sets that you can look at. They're just like a guide for you, but it's entirely up to you how you go about this. But as I say, don't jump in too quick with loads and loads of tools, and bear this in mind, most of us build up tools over many years. We don't just suddenly appear with a workshop full of tools. We just add every year, let's say. Right, let's get back to the power tools, shall we? Do you need them? Well, as I say, you don't need them. It just makes life a lot easier. Now, what I would say, if you get an impact driver like this, you can put sockets on the end of it, that kind of thing. These are really helpful for undoing bolts and screws, that kind of thing. Now, what I would always do is manually break the nut or bolt with a hand tool and then finish the job with this. It just makes life a lot easier. I wouldn't use these again for reinserting the nuts and bolts or doing everything back up. Maybe just going very slowly just to make life easier, especially if it's a long thread. but at the end just go with a hand tool, and then especially just a torque wrench right at the end. Okay, so maybe the only other power tool that you might need is an impact wrench, and you could use that, let's say, on the clutch basket, on the compensator, that kind of thing. Something that needs a lot of work. It's going to be heavy work just to do it with a hand tool. With a hand tool, you're probably going to need a 1/2 inch drive and also a breaker bar just to be able to do it. But with an impact wrench, it's a lot easier. But you only really want to get something like that if you're going to be breaking apart the engine, let's say, or getting into the engine, the primary area. Otherwise, you won't need it at all. The thing is with power tools is that make life a lot easier, but I find it's the accuracy of them that goes a bit wayward. So you got a lot more control with hand tools. So my advice would always be just use hand tools on your bike. So if you're going to use power tools on your bike, there's only going to be a couple of situations where you may think about using it. Otherwise, just using hand tools will be perfectly fine as it is. Now, as I say, there's a list in the description of tools that you could start with. There's also a list on the website as well. You can go there, have a look at those, click on the links if you like. But as I say, this is just a guide. They are not the definitive tools that you have to buy, but it's just something you may want to consider. If you're going to start buying tools, buy hand tools first and leave power tools for later. But just keep this in mind. You may get a warped kind of idea thinking, okay, I'm going to watch all these YouTube videos or these mechanical TV shows and they're all using power tools. The reality is they're only using those power tools on big jobs or custom jobs where you're redesigning frames, or, you know, do you need a welder? Do you need a chop saw? Do you need drills, that kind of thing, and grinders? No, you don't. Not just for mechanical work. Now, if it's for repair work or if it's for structural work on the chassis, yes, you might want to invest in those tools at that stage. But before then, you won't need any of that. So, impact driver, possibly an impact wrench, and maybe some kind of little rotary tool that will help you just clean up some surfaces, that kind of thing. Maybe have a little wire brush on there to clean up some threads. But that's about it. So very limited use on power tools to work on your motorcycle, but especially on a Harley Davidson. Right, over to you, and I'll catch you again. Ta-da.